Well, it's a great privilege to have Kirralie Smith with me, the spokesperson for, or spokeswoman. I'm going to use gendered language today, spokeswoman for Binary Australia, which is fighting the good fight about the truth about gender in this crazy mixed up world. Kirralie, welcome to the Macquarie Street Political Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Lyle.
Kirralie, let's jump straight into it. Leah Thomas, dominating headlines around the world, even making news here in Australia. Tell our audience, who is Leah Thomas?
Leah Thomas is a male swimmer, formerly known as William Thomas. He was ranked, it was 462. I think I said it wrong in my video yesterday. 462 as a male collegiate swimmer. Now he's ranked number 1 as female, and he's dominating in the pool. He's smashing records. He's winning by 3 or 4 seconds on many occasions. He is, you know, when you see a picture of him on the podium next to his opponents, he is massive compared to them. He has all the advantages of being male. He still has everything intact, and it's absolutely devastating for the women in that sport. But I think it's really good in the sense that it's highlighting how serious this issue is and that it must be addressed.
Yes, no, absolutely. Now he's competing, and I'm going to use the term he because Leah Thomas, William Thomas, is a biological male. He's competing at a fairly elite level in the United States in the Ivy League. So these are the elite universities at their elite swimming level. So he's just one below Olympic level. So he's really taking away opportunities for women and young girls, isn't he?
Absolutely. We have heard some of those women on the internet, and there's a very powerful photo of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place standing together on the podium, who are rightly 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. But yes, he's taking away college scholarships. He's taking places on the team, and most of these swimmers do go on to at least try and qualify for the Olympics, the Olympic team. So it's very disturbing. It's clearly unfair. I don't think that anyone could justify within reason his position being there. It's not feelings. Female's not a feeling. Female is a biological reality, and the biological reality of a male swimmer versus female swimmers is very obvious. He's going to have a massive advantage. He's using that massive advantage, and he and others who oppose that the best they can do is flick around horrible labels like transphobe or bigot instead of actually engaging in the reality of this debate, which is that he has a physical advantage that won't be negated in any way, shape, or form.
Kirralie, what are the LGBTIQA plus political activists and their cheer squad in the mainstream media who are trying to say, look, nothing to see here, you know, let's go along with this pantomime, Leah is a woman. What are they saying? How are they trying to justify this to the wider populace?
Well, all I hear is feelings, 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 feelings. But feelings are not measurable. They're not anything that, you know, we can be consistent in. Your feelings, my feelings, they're very different. They're going to change. Feelings are fluid. Gender, however, is specifically related to biology, and biology doesn't change. No amount of changing his name, wearing a costume, being a daily drug user, and that's what you have to be if you're on hormones. And he hasn't had any body mutilation surgery, but even if he had, it still doesn't change the fact that male is written on every single cell in his body, and he has all the advantages of being male. So those activists who, they have nothing. It's a very baseless, a very superficial argument.
So they're wanting us to believe a lie and to go along with this. It reminds you very much of the little boy in the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, The Emperor Has No Clothes. It's like people like yourself are saying, hey, the Emperor's got no clothes. This is a man. He's still got his testicles. He might be taking some cross-sex hormones to grow breasts, but still has his bone structure is male, his muscle structure is male, every cell in his body is male. And I'm presuming even if he had have had the surgery to try and become female, he would still have an advantage.
Oh, 100%, because as you mentioned, those things, it's also your blood volume, your lung capacity, which is a huge thing in swimming, gives him a massive advantage. And
So why are we making no
it's very
progress on this?
unfair.
Yeah, it is very upsetting, Kirralie.
Oh,
I
well,
suppose it goes to this question: why are we making no progress on this? You know, here in Australia, we've got the valiant Senator Claire Chandler, the Liberal senator from Tasmania, in her first term in the Senate, really making her mark, putting up a private senator's bill to save women's sport, because it's only a matter of time before the Leah Thomases. I mean, we've already got men appropriating women's gender in Australian sport. So she's trying to save women's sport. It's not a government bill. Although Scott Morrison put his arm around Claire the other day and said he supported it. But his sports minister, Senator Richard Colbeck, also from Tasmania, in 2019 released transgender guidelines from the Australian Human Rights Commission, which is telling every girls and women's sporting club in Australia that they must accept the Leah Thomases of this world. Is Scott Morrison being disingenuous?
well, I don't know him personally, and he won't have the conversation with me, so I can't. I can only speculate. But
Have you tried to have that conversation? Have you tried to have that conversation with him, Kirralie?
Well, I've tried contacting, and we only ever get a response from his office, which his office states that anyone who identifies as a woman is a woman. So for him to say that he supports Claire Chandler's bill, that it wasn't a government bill, as you said, it had to be a private senator's bill, that he said he supports the bill, but that his office, the Prime Minister's office and the Cabinet, say that anyone who identifies as a woman is a woman, that the Federal Minister for Women, Marise Payne, also has sent in writing the same statement. And what it all goes back to, Lyle, is that in 2013, the Gillard Labor government removed the definitions and the terms relating to biological sex from the Sex Discrimination Act. And so there is no protections in the Sex Discrimination Act for biological sex, only for people who want to appropriate the opposite sex. So it's absolute insanity. And now all of these politicians, look, some are coming out in support of Senator Chandler, which is absolutely fantastic. But less than 10 at the moment have publicly, that I'm aware of, either responded to binary or have stated in the public space that they support that bill. And what I think it comes down to is that they're afraid. They're afraid of falling foul of the Anti-Discrimination Act, and they don't have the courage, the guts, the spine to do what is right in this instance and change the laws, reinstate biological sex as a marker in the Sex Discrimination Act, because I think, you know, we label it the Canberra bubble, but I do think they really live in this bubble and they don't understand the impact this is happening. They might see that's a college swimmer over in the US, but it's happening every day in local communities, in sports, in schools, in change rooms, the Girl Guides, you name it. This is happening right here in Australia right now. And most parents, most business owners, most reasonable people in Australia don't want to get involved in the fight because it's very hard to stand up to cancel culture. It's very hard to stand up to those labels. That's why binary exists, so that we can do it on those people's behalf. But these politicians have a responsibility and a duty of care to act now, because it's gone way beyond what it needed to go.
Absolutely, Kirralie. And look, I want our audience to be really clear. You've, probably given Scott Morrison the benefit of the doubt a little bit, but I don't want to give him a leave pass on this, because you and I know that as valiant as Senator Claire Chandler is, and all courage to her, and well done the politicians who have come out and supported her bill. But everyone knows, anyone who knows anything at all about politics knows that a private senator's bill very, very rarely goes anywhere. This bill is destined to languish on the notice paper. And if Scott Morrison was serious, he would make this a government bill. And he would also amend the Sex Discrimination Act, as you said, which was amended to insert the protected attribute of gender identity, which makes biology meaningless when it comes to sex. So, Kirralie, really, really well done. How can people access the work that you're doing?
So we have a website, binary.org.au, and we are We have run campaigns the last 3 years, but we're really ramping up, and we'll be running some very powerful campaigns during the upcoming federal election, particularly around the issues of women in sport, the legal definitions of male and female, and particularly protecting children and education. So there's some very serious topics there, because let me say, in all of these things, if Leah Thomas or any other adult person wants to dress up, pop pills, have surgery, let them do it. That's fine. We don't actually have a problem with that. What our problem is when it's being imposed onto our society in a way that impacts particularly women and children, but it affects us all in so many different ways. And so I will clarify that if people want to be transgender, whatever that means to them, let them be that. But that's not, it's a completely different conversation to public policy. It's a completely different conversation to women's biological sex-based rights and the protection of children and the sexualization of children that is happening because of this agenda. So binary.org.au, you can sign up. We send out weekly emails and updates. There's opportunities to volunteer and to get involved in the campaigns that will happen over the coming months. And unfortunately, beyond the next election, because I don't feel that these issues are going to be resolved quickly, even though they need to be. But we are committed for the long haul in making sure this job gets done, and that we stand up for common sense, for dignity, for decency, for privacy, for all of those things that we've taken for granted in this country and are now on the line.
Absolutely. Kirralie, just before I let you go, I think it's important we touch on just two things just out of what you've just said there. One is the indoctrination of young children into this. I agree with you. If adults want to dress up as women, and I don't want to make light of gender dysphoria, it's a real thing. There are people who really struggle for whatever reason, and they deserve care and sympathy and help, and not to be discriminated against. I want to be really clear about this. But what we're seeing under the LGBTIQA plus rainbow flag is that gender fluid ideology being indoctrinated into children from preschool up. And that's where it is dangerous, because this is putting children on a pathway towards puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and bodily mutilating surgery, such as healthy breasts being removed and genitalia being removed or reconstructed. How can we further highlight, that this is going on now in our schools, causing this epidemic of children presenting at gender clinics?
Look, it's going to be a big job, but awareness is key, and we must educate people. What we're finding is every week I have more and more people joining our mailing list saying, I didn't even know this was an issue until my child came home, with a book from the library, or had encountered another child that was a girl one day but is now a boy the next. And this child who, is being taught biology 101 in science, but at the same time is told that they have to deny that biology and enter into this very highly politically charged ideology. It's confusing for children. It's a direct result of degendering marriage. When you degender marriage and you take out the terms man and woman, we then have to degender everything. You and I warned about this in the marriage campaign, but now we're seeing the ramifications and playing out. And as you said, so it's confusing for little children. It's devastating for relationships in schools, in sporting groups, and all of those sort of things. But ultimately, the most disturbing factor is that it is affecting teenagers in particular, who can take these hormones that have irreversible side effects that are not being discussed, that are being imposed on these children that don't have the capacity to make decisions about their fertility, about bone density, about other things that are caused by these medications. So it's just the whole gamut, the whole spectrum, if you like, of consequences. So awareness is key. Not enough parents, not enough people are engaged, not enough people understand what's happening. The politicians aren't going to do it. So it's up to people like you and I, and to people who are watching and listening right now, to make sure that we are doing things, simple things like signing petitions as they come around, but also getting involved, actively involved in these campaigns of awareness. We have things like the anti-PC P&C pack, so for parents and citizens groups, parents and friends groups, that helps people be aware. These are the books to look out for. These are the programs in schools that may be happening. These are the conversations you can have with your children. These are websites and materials on the other side that you can look at so you can be aware of. So these packs are really beautifully produced. They're not overcomplicated. All you have to do is email me and I'll send you a PDF version of this pack. But we have similar resources, ebooks that you can download, share with family and friends, and help them understand what the core issues are in a very simple and easy way.
Fantastic, Kirralie. You're doing heroic work. Binary.org.au is the website. You can contact Kirralie through that website, get the information, watch out for her campaigns during the election. Don't vote for any politician who cannot define what a woman is. Kirralie Smith, thank you so much for being with us today on the Macquarie Street Political Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Lyle.